Wolves are renowned for their social structure, working together under the leadership of an alpha to survive and thrive. The alpha transforms each creature under its command into a formidable presence on the battlefield. It learns from each fight, gaining knowledge on how to better survive and defeat its enemies. And if you try to hunt it, you're going to have to pay 3 or your spell is going to be countered. I'm talking about Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. What are you talking about?
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
Big shout out to our sponsors that allow Jake and I to work on the channel full-time. Card Conduit, the best place to sell your cards easily on the internet. TCG Player, the best place to buy them. Dragon Shields, the best place to go get some sleeves that are going to protect them. MTG Stocks are the best way to track their prices over time. And Moxfield is the best place to put your deck lists on the internet. Hey, I wasn't the drama on Twitter this week. So Voja, Jaws of the Conclave was in the conversation this week, popping off on Twitter. Yet again, we had some commander player tweet a commander opinion, and everybody got really mad at the commander opinion. I can't remember that ever happening recently.
Not me, not Hermione.
It is kind of funny to me, though, that Farewell is a fantastic answer to Voja decks, but we'll get into that. Voja, Jaws of the Conclave is a white, a green, a red, and 2 for a 5/5 wolf with Vigilance, Trample, Ward 3, can punch you in the face, hates your mom, and pissed on your dad's grave. Whenever Voja, Jaws of the Conclave attacks, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. Draw a card for each wolf you control. Lose a friend for each time you play Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. No, but for real, Voja is aggro heaven. There was a fantastic article written recently by Kristen. I'll link it down in the description, but you got to go read this article about aggro's sort of renaissance in MTG. It's really popping off right now on the back of some insane commanders that are getting printed.
So powerful, so commanding.
And Voja is one of those. Voja is borderline design mistake, depending on who you talk to. You've got one camp that's like, there is too much on this card. And then you got the other camp that's basically like, it needs this or it wouldn't even be like a playable card. That's kind of the two sides of the arguments. With aggro, typically if you're going to play an aggro commander deck, the weakness is removal. The weakness is maybe you have a bunch of small creatures and a card like Toxic Deluge can just completely hamstring the whole plan. And that leads to running out of steam, which is another weakness. Having no more resources because your hand, you've played everything out and then you get board wiped and it's going to be turns before you can rebuild an actual threat again, and now they've got the floor basically to take control of the game. The thing is that Voja, just short of having haste, has an ability to counteract most every single weakness of a typical aggro deck. Vigilance, so you don't have to worry about attacking. You're not going to leave your shields down because Voja's still going to be able to block. Trample, it can't be chump blocked, so their blocking line doesn't really matter a ton. Ward 3, anti-removal tech here. Your 2-mana removal is now going to cost 5. And that's not the worst thing, by the way. When we get into what I actually think of this commander here towards the end, you're going to hear my opinion that paying 5 to remove Voja oftentimes is going to be worth it, and you should just do it. The ramping creatures that are small on the battlefield to get you to Voja and your bigger spells faster. Voja grows those, so you don't have that problem. It does everything just short of providing them trample to get past that. So thank goodness it doesn't give them a trample counter or give everything passively trample. And running out of steam, Voja says draw a card on it. You know how I feel about commanders that are just, here's the thing that is a Boros thing. Now it says draw a card on it. Yay, everybody. Congratulations. Good work, everybody. Taking mana dorks and turning them into viable threats late or medium, I don't even want to say late, like afternoon. Voja definitely is ready by 1 p.m. to kick your ass. So it doesn't have to be late in the game. The mana dorks are suddenly turning into threats, and so you can run less ramp spells in this. You're allowed to count on your mana dorks being mana ramp and being threatening board at the same time with Voja as the commander. Growing your entire line of mana dork elves and even just drawing one card, you don't have to put a bunch of other wolves in here. Getting a card draw on an attack trigger doesn't even have to connect. That's fantastic, and it's only going to lead toward more snowball out of control. I see a lot of comparisons between Voja and Jetmir, another Naya creatures go wide attacking commander. The thing is with Jetmir, though, it doesn't have ward number 1, so whatever, you can remove it easier, but I don't really care too much about that. What I care about is if I do remove the Jetmir, all of the buffs on all of the creatures suddenly are gone.
Poof, gone.
That attack is stopped in its tracks. But with Voja, Jaws of the Conclave, that is not true. Voja drops counters on all of your creatures, and so Voja doesn't care. Wolf does not give a damn. Use your 5 mana, remove Voja. My creature line is still stacked, jacked, and ready to attack. The bottom line with Voja is there are not a lot of downsides besides some extra powerful, ridiculous words not being printed on this, like hexproof or indestructible, things like that. The issue that most people have with Voja is that there's not really any downside. There's no drawback. There's no hoop you have to jump through. It's ramped to this. It will then come out, help what has ramped to it, and then refill your hand so that you can keep playing stuff, and your attacking line is now growing as a threat without you having to commit further resources onto the board. But look, and this is going to be super reductionist, you just need to run some more removal.
He's a genius.
I don't think you're running enough interaction if this is the kind of commander that is super taking you down. Run some lower cost board wipey stuff. If early game is a huge problem, run some 2 to all creatures, 3 to all creatures. Those kind of spells can have higher efficacy when we've got 5 mana commanders that do this much. Maybe don't run a 6 mana board wipe, but if you do want to, farewell, there you go. That's another fantastic answer to this. Get the creatures off the board. This is the kind of deck that once it does, it's going to be able to keep its hand filled up because of the attacking trigger, or at least to some degree, it's going to be getting resources back. But this is the kind of deck that one board wipe and they're going to be on turns of rebuilding. And without haste printed on Voja, they're going to have to find a way to do that. Ward is super annoying, but it's not hexproof and it's just 3. I've killed Vojas by just paying the 3 and paying 2 for my removal spell. And I'm like, okay, 5 mana removes Voja before it even gets to attack. Now they've taken a turn off. They still only have a bunch of mana dorks. Bing, bang, boom, we're done. Aetherize, just return all attackers through. This would actually stop this deck really in its tracks. And this is a card that's kind of fallen out of favor recently, so maybe people should be looking at it again. Lier, Disciple, make spells uncounterable. Anything that says can't be countered, Ward is a counter. Anything that says can't be countered gets through Ward without having to pay the extra 3. And look, this is going to be a controversial thing for me to say, but I think that this is the kind of deck that will consistently spit out Voja on turn like 3 or 4, and I think it's okay for you to board wipe and pass against Voja specifically.
What did you just say?
Who are you?
I know, never ever board wipe pass, but look, the thing that's not lost on me is that this is a kill on sight commander. Congratulations, Wizards of the Coast. You made a kill on sight commander and just said, everybody have fun, because you do. You need to kill it. It will snowball out of control if just left unchecked, especially for 3 or 4 turns. Get rid of those mana dorks as early as you can so it forces them to play Voja on the appropriate timetable. I think what's most likely to happen with this commander is that it just gets treated like Turgid in people's playgroups. Cards like Turgid, cards like Atraxa, these are still legal. People still have the decks, but people probably don't play them that much. You know, it's like the first time I built Leovold and I cast Teferi's Puzzle Box and suddenly nobody got to play any spells or anything. I went, this isn't a deck I'm going to keep together. I'm not saying that Voja has the same amount of stopping power as a card that needs to get banned, but I do think that people are not going to love playing against this unless it's understood when you sit down at the table that we're going to play some high power shenanigans. Let's get down to business. At the end of the day, Voja is a creature that is obviously ridiculous. Look at it. There's way too many words on this. It's way too powerful. It's just way too much going on. Super pushed. But you got to get all the way back around the table before it can even do its thing. And yeah, Joel, there's a lot of Gruul haste enablers available to us for sure, but that's just another thing we've got to add on. How much can we say, you know, this commander doesn't deserve to be printed, or it's overpowered, or it should be banned? Because if you add this and you add this and you add this, like, I think we have to analyze it in a bubble. And in a bubble, A tier, S tier, power level, casual commander card for sure. But this is the type of commander that they should be putting Ward on. This is where Ward belongs as an ability, because otherwise playing this for 5 mana and then 7 mana and then 9 mana, that is just opening yourself up to never winning. No one ever lets Voja survive because it's so obviously kill on sight. I'd be interested to know if people would rather it say haste. If this said vigilance, trample, and haste instead of Ward 3, would you be more on board for this commander? That's it. Click the YouTube buttons and go tell our sponsors that you love them because you love us. Thanks. Bye.